people think of a garages, people think of somewhere to store their belongings, or to store their car, or to have a room even. But by 1976, Apple was actually created in someone's garage, and that somebody was Steve Jobs. The crazy thing is, when the company started, they were trying to create computers that were small and cheap, and that were accessible for an average consumer. And 3 years after their second model, though, they managed to reach sales up to $139 million. All this was created in someone's garage where we keep our junk in. They started a company. And how exactly did they start a company, you might ask? Well, let's start from the beginning. He was born in San Francisco by two graduate students. And these two graduate students were not ready to have a kid at the time, so they put him up for adoption. Eventually, he was adopted by Clara and Paul Jobs, where he created the spark around this family. Because according to Science for Kids magazine by Robin Stevenson in 2021, he had to go to emergency as a toddler because he put metal pins in a wall socket and got electrocuted. He was very interested in technology, but he's also a very smart kid. Even though he wouldn't take school seriously, he always was too busy pranking students and teachers. He always performed well on tests, and the school actually wanted him to skip to high school. His parents wouldn't let him, but eventually after finally making it to high school, all the pieces started to form to create Apple. And what was that first piece, you might ask? Well, after attending Homestead High School, at a club he was in, he saw a computer for the first time. And watching the computer, he got more interested in technology, and he got a job at HP eventually. At that job, he met someone named Steve Wozniak, where he will become his partner at forming Apple. And guess what he did next? That's right, he became a video game designer. Part of the reason why he became a video game designer was because he wanted to do something related to technology, which is why he joined Atari, one of the game leaders at the time. And it was cool to work there because there was no dress code and they didn't care what you did after work. But there was one problem. He didn't have any experience. According to an article in Game Developer by Frank Kiefeldy in 2011, Palm engineer Acorn said, Jobs had no real engineering experience to bring to the table, but he had a way with words, seemed to have a passion for technology. They decided to hire him out of his passion and love for tech, and he became a technical designer for a game called Touch Me and Simon Toy. All these experiences gave him the path to to rise from a random person to somebody that we will remember for years to come. When he was a little kid, his father would actually take him to the garage to work on electronics. And according to biography.com by Tyler Peacock in 2023, states that his father showed his son to take apart and reconstruct electronics, a hobby that instilled confidence. Well, that confidence paid off because at age 21, Wozniak and him created Apple, also formerly known as Apple Computers Incorporated. Steve Jobs was also in charge of marketing, which is the reason why he became very popular at the time. And by 1980, they became a public company with a value of $1.2 billion the first day. He decided to move on though and leave Apple and work on projects like a gaming operating system called Next Step and bought a studio called Pixar Animation Studios. Eventually he would return Apple, and it's one of the reasons why the company went back on its feet. Now he had a unique way of working with people though. He was known to have outbursts, even on stage. According to a YouTube video called Steve Jobs Gets Mad, full freakout video by Steve Jobs Archive in 2016, shows him throwing equipment to employees if it doesn't work on stage or telling everybody to turn off their devices. He can't deny that he had a passion for technology and wanted everything to be perfect. But there you have it, a history of a person who created devices that we use today. And it all started somewhere, and that somewhere was in Steve Jobs' garage, where they made Apple. Now, he had the spark on his eyes for technology since he was little, from putting metal pins in a wall socket and getting electrocuted, from becoming a video game designer, and eventually creating the Apple computer, and eventually the iPhone. In conclusion, that's the history of Steve Jobs, someone who created an iconic company, who had an iconic personality, and also shows that garages aren't just to put your junk in. Thank you.